what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Welcome, Season 2, Episode 1, White Devils Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Rob Villain. This week, we are down a host. Shout out to Rich. He's been sick past couple weeks. Hope you're starting to feel better and on the mend, on the road to recovery. Of course, I will be bringing in Eddie. He is with me this week. We have a lot to get through. It won't be our normal long show, but we will be getting to some things that we feel is important. Later in the show, we will get into what should be breaking news that a bunch of Trump supporters have stormed the Capitol. All types of fucking shit. Welcome to the shit show is the name of this episode. But we're gonna get into first things first. The Senate has been flipped. I'm gonna be bringing Eddie in. And we're gonna get down to that. Um, it's crazy. It's fucking insane. So let's bring Eddie in and get straight to the shit. What up? What up?
Yo, first and foremost, let's send our best to Rich,
Yes.
good buddy of ours, and we wish him well. You said it. The Senate has been flipped. I spoke a couple weeks ago, and I was wrong. I said I didn't think the Democrats could pull it off.
Bro.
Donald Trump gave a lot of help.
Yes. He's I don't know if he realizes how much that he fucks himself over.
Yeah, and I think we mentioned this a couple weeks ago too. The Senate fucked themselves with not sending us $5,000 checks in October or November. If they had done that or September, it would not have been a close election. My opinion.
No, I don't think.
But then they, like you said, they shoot themselves in the foot. They say $600 checks, and then Loeffler and Perdue say $600 checks, and then Trump comes out and says we need a $2,000 check, and Mitch McConnell turns it down.
Yeah,
not very good politics. So I will state officially I was wrong. I didn't think the Democrats would pull it off, but never doubt Trump's ability to shoot himself in the foot at the same time. So it officially got called last night at like 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning. I was up all night. It took forever. It's very similar to what we saw in November, a spike in early votes going to the Republicans, and then mail-in ballots and heavily Democratic counties in Atlanta and Savannah tipping the scales toward the Democrats. I thought that overall coverage last night was pretty good. There were constant reminders of we've seen this before, and this is how we've been expecting the votes to break, but we expect the votes to go in a different way once these other regions come in. I thought they did a very good job of in November showing us how the sausage was made with the polling, and then sort of walking you through, well, you know how to make the sausage, but we're going to remind you again that the sausage is being made. It took a while, but the Senate is officially in the hands of the Democrats when you consider the tiebreaker of Kamala Harris.
Yes.
And Mitch McConnell is now a minority leader, and the Democrats have taken the House, the Senate, and the presidency in the last 4 years. Thanks, Donald.
When's imagine? How do you think fucking Mitch slept last night? I'd be real interested to be a fly on the wall to see his facial expressions as he was getting updated.
Yeah, I think he sleeps like a baby. I don't think he has any problem sleeping, and I think that's a problem.
Well, I think he might have been a little spooked just knowing that his job was on the line, and now he's out of a job as a majority speaker.
Yeah, but I also like without being too pessimistic, right? Like I don't doubt Mitch McConnell's ability to hold up the mechanics of government as minority leader. We saw him do it very well during Obama, and having literally no margin for error with having 50 Democratic senators is going to be problematic. Specifically, too, with the fact that Joe Manchin is going to be the third most powerful senator, because he's such he works across the aisle, whatever you want to call it. He's a Republican more than anything. So I think that, again, not to be too pessimistic, I think that Mitch McConnell's power is vastly diminished, but I think that he has shown that he knows how to use it very well.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, he started the Congress is going to go ahead and move ahead with the vote count, the electoral college tonight. They'll work tonight. A joint session will continue tonight after an hour's long delay by rioters. We'll get into the rioting shit a little later on, but it's it's still not gonna be easy as everybody thinks it's gonna be now that the Dems control everything.
Yep. And there's a reason for that. And the reason for that
is Republicans to cross party lines.
Yeah, exactly. The reason why it's not a victory, as you will, is because there were changes made in the Senate by Mitch McConnell.
Yes.
To change the rules of procedure to pass things in the Senate, right? So they changed the rules and removed the Senate filibuster, so that you can get rid of the filibuster by a simple majority. And this removed a very big constitutional restraint on the Senate, which is that previously the Senate had to pass everything by 2/3 vote, by 60 votes. And by changing these provisions and making it so that the only things, anything can pass the Senate except for budgetary items, you can confirm, the head of the FBI, or you can confirm somebody in the cabinet with 50 votes, 51 votes, which works very heavily in the favor of, the mechanics of governing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you want to pass a budget through the House and through the Senate, you're going to have to work with the Senate Republicans. And they're the ones that are going to really have all the leverage in this situation. So I think that having 50 senators is a big moment, but I think that we have to take it in the context of how much power the Democrats actually have and where that power comes from. And that power has been greatly diminished, not just by Mitch McConnell's maneuverings during Trump's term, because they wanted to get all their court appointments and everything done, but also because of the fact that this is whatever changes they made don't actually affect the budget, which, when we talk about, again, governing, they say personnel is policy, but also having people that are funded, having departments that are fully funded, is kind of important as well.
Yeah, you would think. I mean, common sense would tell you, but
yeah, common sense not so common these days, for sure. Now, we did also see that Alex Padilla from California is nominated to replace Kamala Harris in the Senate.
Yes.
So that's pretty interesting. He will be one of the first Hispanic senators from California, if I remember that correctly.
Which is insane.
Which is insane. But we will also see him. We should also note that he is one of the people who voted against in California against a single payer. It fell short by 2 votes in the California Senate.
Yes.
And Alex Padilla was one of 4 Democrats that sat out the vote. Um, and he's from LA. You would think he would want Medicare for all for the entire state. So, you know, just a little background on his some of his previous voting record. It's not going to be, as we said, sunny shiny days with uh, a proud, strong, progressive base leading the charge, not by a long shot.
It's going to get real interesting. I fully expect the $2,000 stimulus to be voted on rather quickly once Biden moves into. It might not even be fucking. Might not even wait till Biden is actually inaugurated. You know, Pelosi and Schumer are going to try to rush everything they could to the floor that they can
Yep.
to see exactly how much support that they're going to have for it. And hopefully, I mean, I'm not going to be mad at another $1,400, jumping into my account.
Do you think they're actually going to pass it, or do you think they're going to be like, "Well, we've done enough"?
No, I think they really want to pass it.
I mean, Biden said specifically, "Vote for Ossoff and Warnock if you want $2,000."
Exactly.
Um,
So the question is they're going to wait for him to draft something once he gets in, or they're going to take it up upon their own to introduce the bills on the floor themselves, Pelosi and
mhm.
Schumer, and get through it. What's up, Joe? Happy
Well,
New Year.
the House. Happy New Year, Joe.
Shout out
Well,
to
the House already has a $2,000
Vision is
clean
here.
bill.
Vision is here for Eddie and Eddie
My
only.
man.
I want Vision on this show, but he's because of the time change. He's at work.
Oh, right.
Because it's only 3 o'clock when we go live in LA.
Well, he got to get fired. We got to fire him.
He can't get fired. He got a good job.
Yeah, but back to your point. The Democrats have a clean bill. A clean bill, basically, a bill that only addresses the $2,000 payments and nothing else. No added pork, no other riders, no, just a straight $2,000.
Yeah, straight.
Very simple, and they've passed it in the House. The question, I think,
And it's got unanimous support in the House on both sides of the aisle.
yeah, and I think the bigger question is that we didn't really have a good gauge of how many Republican senators would support a $2,000 stimulus, just because Mitch McConnell refused to hear it, and we knew that it was not going to get passed. So I don't think that people fought very hard on the idea that the Republicans, let's say 6 or 8 or 10 Republicans, could come out in support of the stimulus. I think, I don't know, to jump ahead a little bit, like, it's interesting. It's going to be very interesting in the next 2 weeks to see who wants to keep playing the games and the stunts, and who wants to actually like do their job. Because I think that there are plenty of Senate Republicans who, I'm not going to say they're good people or that like I believe in their decency, because I don't. They're politicians. Yes, you should, Joe. You actually should. That's my understanding of the bill.
Yeah, that's dope. From what I read from it, yeah. So,
But
know-
I do think that, I mean, somebody's got to pass a law at some point, right? Like, as oblivious and shitty and politically inefficient their messaging has been during the pandemic, to basically say, "Oh, it's not a big deal. It's just like the flu." Like, they know that their constituents are hurting. They know it deep down. They know it, which is why it's so tragic and gross what they've been doing. But I think that, I would hope anyway that there are that many of the Republicans that are willing to step up and reach across the aisle. I I will reserve judgment until I see it.
Yeah, I mean, like a lot of people have asked as we went through show after show after show, is how we are going to be once a new administration, if there was a new administration that entered into the Oval Office on January 20th, how would we be towards them? Well, like we've said numerous times, it all depends on how they are, what they're trying to do. And now that we got the Senate, it's going to be real interesting. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I definitely do think that the shift of balance of power officially is a very important, uh, even if it's just psychological, it's a very important shift in politics. And Georgia in particular, the way that Georgia runoffs went, the ugly attack ads, you know, Kelly Loeffler literally put out campaign ads where she darkened um, Warnock's skin multiple shades darker than what it already was. You know, like just complete racist trash.
Yeah.
Um, that sort of stuff. I think is
Joe, yeah.
I think that we'll see if people want to keep playing race to the bottom politics.
I have a comment on my Facebook feed,
Mm,
my Facebook stream that you can't see on here because from all the places, but shout to Chill for watching. He says $10,000 each and everybody stay home for a month. Let's be done with the BS. One
I
one of
like it.
one of the advisors for Biden's pandemic team that he floated the idea of a 6 week shutdown, and what would happen? Businesses would submit their most profitable 6 week span from 2019, and the government will send them that and cover their payroll.
Mm,
So you'll still get
right.
paid. You'll still get paid for being at home. So I don't know. They didn't get into detail about if there would be a stimulus for each person per se, because we would still be on payroll. But people like me who own a business and shit like that, I don't know exactly how that would affect, because I've gotten denied for every government loan that I tried to go for from the SBA, just because I was um I'm a new business. They asked for tax returns from like 2019 and shit like that. I didn't have none of that type of shit to um to give them because I had just opened. So, which was kind of weird that like you would think that they want to open a new business, help the new businesses that they just opened, just as much as the businesses that were here before too. But no, not at all. Give me, yep. Drew, I got my stimulus last. I got it on Friday, New Year's Day. It hit my account, and
Stimmy, stimmy, stimmy.
it went towards a new windshield
Hmm.
that I end up not having to pay for. Stimmy, stimmy, y'all. Yes,
Yep.
yes. So
And I'll take it a step further. The government should keep giving us money after the pandemic ends too.
yeah, I
It's not. It's our money. Well, this is what I don't understand. Like it's literally my money that I pay in taxes.
yes.
It's a hopefully, knock on wood, once in a lifetime situation. Just make the counter machine go. Brrr, that's it. Print that money. Run it up. Oh,
Vote Eddie
that.
2024. Yeah, we could do that. Like Eddie, why not? You should we've talked about that before.
Yep. Well, yeah, I'll be 35 in 2024.
I
Um,
I always said that me and Vision should have ran from 2020. Like
yeah.
I had the whole cabinet picked out. You were even on it. Like if we go back to my through my Twitter feed, probably back to like 2016 after Trump got elected. There's something in there that says something about me, a Vision and me ticket, and
Mhm.
you were in there somewhere for some type of cabinet position. I remember. I can't
Okay.
I can't remember what it was though, but you were definitely on there.
Okay. Well, I
Mike was
accept my nomination. Um, so the other thing that is interesting with regards to the Senate runoffs is we've talked about this before, and I think again with the Georgia in general, with the way that political winds are shifting. Hopefully, we'll see some changes to policing in general, national standards for policing, things like that. Um, heard the news this week that the cops who shot Jacob Blake in the back will not face any charges.
No, bro.
Um,
Did you watch that? Did you watch that press conference?
I did not see the press conference, but I saw the fact that they were basically like,
How
"Oh,
did it work, Joe?
cops are the good guys."
Bro, like he went on and went on for like 25 minutes, and you knew within the first 3.5 minutes the way that he was leading on that there was going to be no fucking charges. I stayed tuned, like I tuned in for that until he announced that there would be no charges, just because I wanted to see all the verbal gymnastics he was performing, what exactly was going to lead to, and it was just a crock of shit. And then he was like, "Oh, and Jacob Blake," and he's like, "I do want to point out that Jacob Blake will not be charged with anything either." I'm like, this mother.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for that.
Thank you. How?
Yeah, I mean, thank you for telling us over and over again how it's a tragedy, and um, and it's so awful and terrible. And then still letting the cops get away with it.
Kyle Rittenhouse pleaded not guilty to his shits in the results for the Jacob Blake shooting, all the protesting that went on afterwards. Kyle Rittenhouse from Antioch, Illinois, we all know the story. He went over there and he says that he shot and killed somebody in self-defense. A lot of people seem to think that also, and there's a lot of people on the other side. I mean, it's pretty evenly split on what people think about it, unfortunately. From everything that I've read and I've seen, all the evidence that is being used, not everything that you've seen or read online, but the evidence they're actually using. It wasn't self-defense. Like, you can't claim self-defense when you're in the act of a crime.
Right. I mean,
his crime being he had the gun.
Yeah. To be fair, I mean, he was getting his ass kicked in the protest earlier and stuff. But at the same time, you're walking around with a gun when you're 17 years old in a state that doesn't have open carry. What do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, exactly.
You're putting yourself. It's just like we've talked about this. If you're going to be a gun owner, you have to be a responsible gun owner, and it's not about looking cool or feeling tough or any of that stuff, right? There's only one reason to own a gun, and it's to pull it out and use it to defend your life. Not for the hoes, not for the Instagram likes, nothing. All that other stuff about, yeah, right? Nice 380.
No.
All that stuff on the internet about like people flashing guns to look cool, and whether it's a rap video or whether it's somebody trying to look tough posing for Instagram, talking about Blue Lives Matter, come and take it. Like, all that stuff is trash. It's complete trash. If you're gonna use a gun, or if you're gonna be a gun owner, which I encourage, be responsible. Don't be waving it around. Let me take a gun to a protest where I know I'm gonna get into a fight with somebody and I'm gonna shoot them. Like, that is not why you need a gun. That's not what guns are intended for. The right to gun ownership is intended for. That's just looking for an excuse to kill people and get away with it. But responsible gun owners would know not to take a long arm to a protest, just like they would know not to kick in the door to the Capitol and start shooting people. You would think, right? So I think that from a legal standpoint, Kyle Rittenhouse has some level of protection, and I think, from a gun rights standpoint, whatever, I think he doesn't have any excuse at all. He shouldn't have a gun at all. His mom shouldn't let him have a gun. The guy, what was the name of the guy in Aurora who shot up the
theater?
The theater, yeah, exactly. Like, his mom knew he had problems with like his personality and like his mood and like schizophrenia, and that, like, she left her guns unlocked. She left her guns, her AR-15s, in a gun safe where he knew where the keys were. Like, if you have a kid that's talking about blowing people up and killing people and all these government revenge fantasies that these sickos have, it's your responsibility as a responsible gun owner to remove the threat.
Look at the guy who blew up the RV bomb guy last week.
Mm-hmm.
His girlfriend alerted the FBI last year that he was building explosives in the RV.
Yep.
And look what ended up happening. He blows up a fucking block.
Yep. They gave her a psych evaluation, not him.
Oh my God.
Louisville police No, that wasn't Louisville. That was Nashville. Nashville police's finest.
Yes. Speaking of Louisville, though, the there is some news on the Breonna Taylor case as of today. What it was? All of them were fired,
Two of them.
or two of them? Two of the officers involved in that the botched raid on Breonna Taylor's apartment were fired today. So I mean, we we take what we can get, I guess. Um, and it's never going to be complete justice in that case. So take what we can get. So
Yeah, basically
they're
they
just going to go
terminated the
somewhere else.
officer who secured the warrant for the raid, and then the cop who actually did the shooting that killed Breonna Taylor.
Okay. They're just going to go to another department in another state where they'll get pulled right in, get a nice
Yeah.
starting pay.
Also, Louisville has a new police chief, Erica Shields, the former police chief of Atlanta Metro Police Department.
Okay. They're
Who
they're really trying to change down there. And
Yep.
it's fucked up. It took the situation that happened, the Breonna Taylor situation, for it to jump off.
Just a quick note: Shields is a white woman.
That's even crazier.
Um,
How's she doing in Atlanta though?
I don't know.
That's crazy.
I'm not too familiar with policing in Atlanta. I assume they're bastards and they're terrible people. Sickos. That's my assumption.
Today I mean it's probably not the first time it's happened in history. I'm sure it happened back in the day. Today was the first time in modern history that the U.S. Capitol was stormed by I'm not even gonna say protesters. I'm gonna go ahead and say domestic terrorists, because that's what it was. There was an act of direct domestic terrorism today in Washington D.C. at the U.S. Capitol. A woman was shot in the chest and has died. 1812, chill. Thank you. It happened in 1812.
Yep.
Capitol was stormed. Okay, so the lady that was shot in the chest died today. She has succumbed to her injuries from the shooting. I woke up late. I didn't wake up till like 1:30 this afternoon, Central Standard Time. So I woke up to all types of messages and notifications like, what's going on? Like, you see this? What do you think about this? And I'm like, first of all, right at the surface level, I thought they were all in reference to the Georgia runoffs. You know, because it's crazy that we picked the show date for this show on Wednesdays before we started the show, and it's crazy how it's the day after election day, then the day after the runoff election was on a Tuesday, and their inauguration day is going to be on a Wednesday. So it's crazy how it all lined up. But I thought it was all these messages and shit were in reference to that, when in reality, all these crazy fucking Trump people, pro-Trump rioters, domestic terrorists, fucking stormed the Capitol. Like, bro.
Yep.
So I didn't get to read into much because I woke up, I had to get ready, and I had to get in the car and start moving. So
yep.
by the time I got here, I ate, and we started the show. And we started the show a little bit later than we normally do. So Eddie, what led to it all was, I know Trump had tweeted some crazy shit that Twitter has since removed.
Yep. Well,
how did it all start?
Well, it all started with the stolen ballots. They did ballot dumping in Georgia again. You know, Bill Gates and George Soros.
Oh, okay.
They were ballot dumping.
Fuck.
I mean, how did we get here? How we got here by Donald Trump embracing Spiro Agnew's Southern strategy that the Republicans used to get Richard Nixon reelected in the mid 70s, which is exactly what it sounds like, the Southern strategy. is the use of embracing Southern whites coded dog whistle language to tell them all about the horrible suburbs and how the terrible urban areas need to be escaped, and people need to go move to the suburbs where real America lives, because you don't want to live in the inner cities, because they're war zones. They're chaos. I don't know if this sounds familiar to you yet, but it's total anarchy in the inner cities. And the police need to get really tough, really fast in order to take out control of our streets. They're the thin blue line. So anyway, this is the Southern strategy. This is the electoral political theory that the Republican Party has been running since Reagan, since Spiro Agnew. And it is exactly what it sounds like. It's a racist white strategy to consolidate power amongst white men and only white men. And as you've seen, this country keeps going into more diverse ways, whether it's your identity as a person, your sexual identity, your race, whatever, gender roles, whatever metric you want to use. This country is becoming more and more diverse, and as a result, white people are going to be the minorities. And I've heard that minorities have a great time in America. That's what I heard. So there's very real fear of what happens when you're not at the head of the totem pole, that Donald Trump has tapped into. It's the same as George W. Bush or Al Gore, not Al Gore, George Bush Sr. or George W. Bush, and to a lesser extent John McCain. John McCain wasn't willing to go that far, to go to call Obama a Muslim, for example. I always liked that about him. But he did pick Sarah Palin as his VP, who I think helped open the floodgates for Donald Trump. And she was very much that same sort of, we're the real America, come be one of us, we say Merry Christmas, all this garbage that is a signal to the white voters in America that that they matter, and that they're going to be heard and listened to, and that they're going to continue having political power in America. Donald Trump has basically squeezed every bit of racism and political power that he can out of this group, and has brought it to the top of the power in the world, to the heights of the American presidency, and is completely unqualified to do it. But he has built a cult following around him that literally believes everything he says. I mean, military grade propaganda does work. If you don't believe it, we've had 5 years to observe the effects of that type of propaganda. And these people literally believe everything they're told on TV and on the internet. And so we've gotten to a point where it's not just, well, this was a fraudulent election and it was stolen, right? Because I mentioned it a couple of times, and I mentioned it earlier before we got online. Donald Trump was never going to concede in 2016 if he lost. Never. Okay? And if you think that, thanks, John sends his best thoughts to Rich. Thank you so much, John. We'll send that along. Donald Trump was never going to concede. And exactly what you're saying now is what would have happened in 2016. Exactly. Because he can't stand to be a loser from a psychological standpoint, but also from a financial standpoint. At this point, he needs to be the president to continue making money and to avoid going to jail. And so we've got these people who not only refuse to believe that this election was a free and fair election, because they refuse to believe it because they believe the propaganda. But also, it doesn't matter if it was a free and fair election in their mind. They are not. They have no. The other side of the country has no legitimate path to political power in their minds. This is what Bill Barr was talking about when he said that the left has replaced politics with religion, or religion with politics, saying in essence that politics is the only thing, that liberals care about using politics as a weapon, not to create a better world or something like that, or for the American prosperity, but as a tool against American Christians, um, to destroy the fabric of America as he defines it, which is the same fabric of America that is what Spiro Agnew is talking about when he's talking about the real America. So these people have never had any inclination or interest in sharing power, and Donald Trump gives them an excuse and a purpose and a right to claim that power. And by also being a militant man-child, they refuse to step down, and even though they know they lost. We and I mentioned it before. We knew he lost. I knew he lost the night of the election when it was 2:00, and he gets on stage talking about, we're winning big. The numbers are going to come in big unless the Democrats cheat. We already won. Like, anyone who was watching politics, anyone who's watching Dave Wasserman's Twitter feed on election night would have told you that it was going to take a couple days. Pennsylvania was going to break against Trump, and other states, likely Michigan, Arizona, were going to break against him too. And that's exactly what happened. And so that's how we've gotten to this moment where, I mean, you can't even do the basic decent thing of presiding over a very simple certification process. There is no legitimate argument to be made that they were cheated, because if there was, they would have gone to federal court and won a case. More than one. They won one, and then it got reversed in the Pennsylvania 7th. They won 1 out of 62, and it's because they're not going to sit up there and tell lies to federal judges about fake election scandals that didn't happen. That's why they're doing it on Fox News and AON and Newsmax and all these garbage outlets, where they have no responsibility or accountability to a federal judge. Now, a lot of these people, in my mind, are going to find some accountability in front of a federal judge very shortly when they get arrested for all this shit that they're pulling. But there was never a consideration of sharing power. That was never going to happen. And for that reason is one of the reasons why I said you guys shouldn't have voted for. I said in 2016, don't vote for this fucking guy.
Well, they did. And look, the picture that's up right now that you guys see are the NPR article caption underneath that picture says demonstrators broke through security at the U.S. Capitol this morning.
Yep. So, interesting thing, real quick. I just saw this. Twitter is giving Donald Trump a timeout. They're giving him his final warnings. They tweeted, further violations of the Twitter rules, including our civic integrity and violent threats policy, will result in permanent suspension of the real Donald Trump Twitter account. I'm sending it to you now so you can pull it up. But yeah, I mean, I think that there have been many, many moments that have taken us to this point where even 1 or 2 or 3 Republicans could have stood up and said, "Hey, this is wrong. Don't do this." Like when he was attacking federal judges, saying that they couldn't be fair to him because they were Mexican. Oh. Like, that's just straight up racist, right? When he said, "Grab him by the pussy," they could have dumped him then. when he
Nope.
was fired, when he fired the FBI director. He could have said, they could have said, you know what, this is wrong. They stood by for 4 years. Susan Collins, Murkowski in particular, talking about we're disappointed in the president. You think he cares about your disappointment? You think that he sleeps at night worrying about, well, I'm very troubled by the president's statements, or even more importantly, the people who pretend that they don't see his tweets all day, every day. There have been many moments where we could have taken off a stand against Donald Trump's bullshit, and I think Twitter and their Twitter safety is a prime example of how we got to this moment. They could have done this years ago. They wait until he's a lame duck, nobody cares president to start enforcing their policies. Like, get out of here with that.
He had 2 tweets removed earlier.
Yeah, he had a couple tweets removed earlier, and they have locked his account for now. Now I'm interested in seeing who, if anyone, is willing to continue with the bullshit and continue objecting to the certification of these objecting to the certification of states that are not in question. Georgia is not in question. We counted it like 4 times. Remember, I volunteered to help.
Yeah.
Arizona is not in question. So I wonder how many Republican sickos are willing to continue the lie and the farce after they literally got overran and had their lives threatened by other sickos and gross weirdos. They invited this by, agreeing to parrot the president's propaganda when they knew that it was just that, propaganda and lies. And so I'm very interested to see where this next session, when it reconvenes, is going to go, because I could easily see somebody like a Ted Cruz or a Lindsey Graham trying to continue the charade and the farce. But I don't think there are many Republicans that are willing to put up with more of this after what we just seen the last half day.
I think the vast majority of them are over it, and they're ready to get back down to Washington business as usual before Trump and came in like the Tasmanian devil and fucking whipped everything into a frenzy over the last 4.5, 5 years. They really just fucking stormed that motherfucker. It's insane. It's crazy.
Yep.
That we can't get people to do it for lack of funding on various array of services, but the Trump people are willing to do it because fucking the Cheeto guy said, "Go ahead."
Yeah, well, I mean, it's cancel culture. That's what it is, right? I mean, what, you can't even incite a coup on Twitter anymore? What is this? Like,
go take the country back for me as I play golf. What the fuck?
1 second. The thing about Trump, like, this is what I don't get. Like, we talked about this last week too, or the last show we had. But like, Lindsey Graham, Ted Cruz, he can't tweet about you anymore. The main man, it doesn't have any more power. Like, what do you get from protecting and burning your reputation for Donald Trump on Wednesday, January 6th, 2020, 2 days before the inauguration? Like, what is being served besides Donald Trump's ego? Like, I don't understand these people. Like, somebody like a Michael Cohen, I get it. Like, whatever, you're a scumbag. You're surrounded by scumbags. You just want to make money in the big city, and you got to do what you got to do. I get that. Somebody like a Lindsey Graham or even like a Bill Barr, I don't get what you get out of carrying water for this guy, especially again Wednesday, January 6th, 2020, like 2 weeks before the inauguration. I don't see the value in doing it. And so
Yeah,
like our best check in against this insanity and to save the American experiment is basically for Donald Trump to get his Twitter page locked. Like, that's insane.
for 12 hours.
For 12 hours.
What the
They're sickos.
Who is it? It was let's see, what is the House Republican Conference Chair Liz Cheney said the president is abusing the trust of American people and abusing the trust of the people who supported him 34 minutes ago.
Yeah, they put him in Twitter jail. I'm telling you, he's on his way to go.
She's a number 3 House Republican.
He's on his way to go drop a nuke on Philadelphia.
Yeah, it's shit.
This is the moment we're always headed toward. And I said it, and I'm not like trying to not saying it to make myself feel better, because I don't feel good about this at all. But I said, if you vote for Donald Trump, there's going to be hundreds of thousands of dead Americans. We're all going to be broke, and our reputation worldwide is going to be ruined. And our enemies are going to laugh and laugh and laugh and take advantage the whole way. Right or wrong?
That's basically where we're going.
And so our best bet is that I don't know, that Donald Trump gets his Twitter page blocked, and that hope maybe he has a heart attack from eating too many cheeseburgers, too many Big Macs.
And it's I guess assault on the Capitol, you could call it. It started, I think two senators are now going to reverse their decision on objecting to the electoral counts now because of what happened. Now they want a peaceful transfer of power. So I think it's kind of backfiring the way as it was unfolding. Trump was probably sitting there rubbing his little hands like a evil cartoon villain. Thinking like, oh, this might just work. But no, it's probably not. Shout out to Indy for watching.
Shout out. Well, it's so interesting thing that it was just reported that NBC Sports Boston says that the Celtics have walked off the floor of their game in Miami before their game started.
Okay.
Not sure what, if anything, that's related to what's currently happening, but I think that
well, Eddie has just been taken away from us. We'll see what that was all about. But yep, like I said, there he goes. He is now back.
Sorry about that. So yeah, we didn't have to get to this point. Like, whether or not you agree with me about my assessment of what happened in 2016 with the whole Russia thing, right? I think that if you look back in the last 3 weeks, we've clearly seen a person who, if he didn't have a plan to work with the Russians, which I'm not saying he did, I'm not saying he had a specific plan. Like, they sat down 4 years ago before and said, "Ha ha ha, we're going to run for office in 2016." But if there was a plan or there was assistance from the Russian government available, after everything you've seen in the last 4 years, do you think this is a man who's more likely or less likely to take that assistance? And so that's one point. The second point is he already attacked democracy. He already attacked the American people, their right to vote, in 2019 when he was pressuring the president of Ukraine to open up fake investigations of the Bidens to create the illusion of corruption, and in doing so to win election.
And everything just backfired on him.
Yeah, and it backfired on him.
Just like all his lawsuits.
But what happened? What happened was the Senate refused to listen to any evidence and just voted on party lines to let it go. So, people like Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio, uh, Richard Burr, I mean, Susan Collins, all these people, the Senate Republicans are responsible for this more than anyone. They had the chance to kick this motherfucker out last year to minimize the damage done to the American democracy. And they refused. They straight up refused. They were like, nah, this is good with me.
Most of them, that's a sign of encouragement.
Yeah, that's complete weakness. Donald Trump learned his lesson. That's what Susan Collins said after impeachment.
He learned his lesson.
He learned his lesson.
Yeah, he didn't learn shit. Bro. So, Congress is gonna go ahead and stay late tonight, and they're gonna go ahead and go through these votes, the electoral votes. We have the Democrats have laid claim to the Senate. Good old Turkey Neck Mitch is gonna be getting good old Turkey Neck Mitch is getting demoted.
Yep.
Donald Trump was bullying Mike Pence earlier today, also on Twitter, saying he was a coward, didn't have the guts to do what he needed to do to overturn the election.
Melania's chief of staff has resigned today.
Like they're not even waiting the next 13 days, 12 days, whatever it is. Like, fuck it, we're out of here now. Let's get out of here.
I'm amazed that they let these people break in and trash the building and pull guns out and all sorts of shit, and they just let them leave the building. They didn't arrest anybody. They just were like, all right, cool. Not to mention they found a bunch of pipe bombs in the Capitol as well. They found two pipe bombs.
Two of them that were, two of them. For sure, two of them that were actually rigged and were able to go off.
So this is the future. This is the future norm. Political warfare. Ongoing attack on American democracy.
Yes.
And
it's so weird that so many people are oblivious to the fact that that's exactly what it is.
And I mean, yes and no. So, like, we talk about the Southern strategy, right? Like, if you look at the history of America, I mean, violent white mobs that are allowed to destroy things with impunity has been the norm. Kansas was, for example, a white state for a very long time, because of the fact that people refused to go to Kansas, Black people, because of the Ku Klux Klan, the strength of the Ku Klux Klan there. So it's not surprising to me that we're seeing this. I tweeted this earlier, and I was kind of joking, but I was serious at the same time when I said that the DC police are not checking your Twitter feed right now for your advice on what tactics and controls they need to be using to control these people. They're a little bit busy.
They're a little busy right now, guys.
But yeah, just a little bit. But the idea that, like, for example, that the Black Lives Matters protests are treated differently than these MAGA marches, like,
It's
that was never gonna. You were never gonna see these police out here, um, uh, cracking heads. They are, as I said before, for the most part and parcel of the same political bloc that Donald Trump, um, his power comes from.
yeah.
So when they say we back the blue, it's not because they care about the police in a particular way. It's because the police, in their minds, restore order, law and order by beating up, black people and leftists and things like that. Um, so for them, I think, you know, I'm not surprised that the police were not effective at all, because they I don't think they ever had a plan to be effective. They don't care. They probably, most DC police officers actually probably voted for Trump.
Yeah, I'd rather imagine so.
Um, but it looks like somebody just got stabbed outside of Trump Hotel.
Yeah, it's gonna there's gonna be random acts of violence connected with throughout that area and things associated with him. Um, it'll get worse before it gets better. We got to think it's only the 6th. We have to get through to the 20th, and then after that, we might see a little surge in his supporters acting even more childish than they normally do. It's gonna get interesting, um, but it's gonna happen just for the simple fact that that's the type of people they are. And we're gonna see a lot more and more of that. They're gonna be showing out. What he tell the Proud Boys during his during the debate? Stand back and stand by or whatever.
Yep,
And
and that's what they did.
they activated. They're like, yes, sir. So it'll get a little worse before it gets better. So but
And I'm surprised that so many people were able to just walk around like Pelosi's office and stuff like that. Like, um, this is not a good look. I mean,
no, it's
the
not.
security failures by itself are mind-boggling. Um, but the fact that these people could uh, do this and get away with it is one thing. The fact that so many Americans are also good and are happy with what they saw on the TV is
Yeah.
pretty gross. They're
It'll
definitely going to feel emboldened, um, and without intentionally spreading disinformation or misinformation. I did see a couple of tweets of people with handguns and zip ties in the Capitol building, which kind of, with the suggestion being that their goal was to take hostages, take members of Congress as hostage, which, even if that wasn't the explicit goal, I mean, having zip ties and a gun in the Hall of Congress is not a good look from an international media standpoint.
yeah.
It shows you really how far they're willing to go. I mean,
We're,
they were
we're,
going
we're
to kill the governor of Michigan.
the there's definitely cracks in the foundation of the superpower that is America. There have been cracks throughout it for a while now, but now they're widening enough that everybody on the international level is taking notice. So
Yeah, um, it's interesting that uh, they're not. These people are not going away on the 21st. Um, not by a long shot. And you know, with this QAnon stuff, this stuff is really dark because, um, we saw this in like Rwanda and places like that where you can't have one side of the aisle, or let's say multiple sides, but you can't have a political party that believes that their um, opponents, or the political opponents, what they perceive to be their political opponents. I mean, we're all Americans, right? You can't have a side of the aisle that literally believes that all of the Democrats or the Republicans that they're running against are in bed with Hollywood child rapists. They're satanic worshipers. Like,
Rather,
that's not good for democracy in general.
it was rather comical.
And much less this idea, that the people who believe that are all heavily armed. It's not a good state for democracy. It's not a good place to be for coming together and healing if we're going to do that. But places where political parties talk about people in a manner of they're pedophile, child rapists, Satanists, it tends not to bode well for the future of that democracy. So we'll see where that goes. Now, we mentioned this before. The Republican Party came to be after the breakdown of the Whig Party, which actually survived for a couple years. Harrison, Zachary Taylor, etc. Polk. So what happened with the Whig Party, for just a quick history lesson, is that they basically started giant infighting about the idea of slavery, and which side they should be on, and the party basically devolved into a lunatic fringe party that treated Zachary Taylor as a messiah, a cultish following, and really the American people were not interested in that style of governing and that type of politics, and the Whig Party cratered and became what is now the Republican Party. So we're actually in a moment of being full circle from the 1950s, 1960s, where basically during the first Lincoln administration, everyone who was a prominent Whig member left because they didn't want to be stuck with this crazy guy. And so I think that we'll see what happens in the future, but that seems to be where the Republican Party is headed at this moment.
Yeah, they really need a makeover. Both of them do, really, both sides of the aisle. It's been it's been a weird couple weeks. Next week we'll have a lot more stuff for you guys. We'll see what Rich's status is by next week. By next week we'll know a lot more about the full scope of Biden's picks to round out his cabinet.
Mm-hmm. Oh, speaking of which, his pick today that was nominated, or that was announced to be nominated,
Attorney General
Merrick Garland.
Yeah.
I fully expect the Republicans to go full asshole and try to keep him from getting passed. But should be interesting. That, I think, was one of the bigger cabinet positions that we've been waiting to see and hear. A person close to the president has told a Republican advisor to a senior Republican advisor to the president has told Jim Acosta that Donald Trump is, quote, out of his mind.
Tell us something that we didn't know.
Jim. Okay, so here's another interesting tidbit. The National Guard was called in to help with the protests, and the person who deputized the National Guard was actually Mike Pence and not Donald Trump. which is very, very unusual. Um,
He's gonna be big babying it up. He's gonna be acting like a little child as much as possible. So it's gonna be kind of crazy. You know, like I said a couple minutes ago, it's gonna get worse before it gets better. It's gonna who knows what's going to happen. Um
I just hope nothing crazy like, you know, members of Congress getting killed or something like that happens. But I also wouldn't be surprised, unfortunately.
yes,
Um,
we have a changing of the guard in the Senate. There's gonna be all new heads of committees and subcommittees,
mhm.
um, including Bernie Sanders, who's taking the reins
For labor.
for labor, which I think is a very good look. Um, so it's gonna be real interesting. Next week's episode is gonna be a lot different. Um, there's a couple things that I last week I struggled with whether I was gonna whether we're gonna do the show or not, and I ultimately decided against it because Rich wasn't available. But this week we kind of had to because everything that was going on. Um, we'll be back next week again at a regular time of 5 o'clock. Hopefully, Rich is on the mend, and we'll be back with us next week as we break down what, like I said, he should have all the cabinet picks that he wants nominated by next week. I would rather imagine because what after next week, the week after is the inauguration or next week's inauguration. No, no, 2 weeks. Yep, 2 weeks from today is inauguration. So next week, Washington's pretty busy for the next 2 weeks. As you know, we have the new Senate that was sworn in the other night. We'll see exactly how proactive the Democrats are going to be in the next 2 weeks. Is going to be a telling sign.
Impeach him. Impeach him.
Yeah.
Impeach him.
Do you really
Impeach him again.
do you really want to deal with all that bullshit?
Oh, you know, we didn't even talk about Georgia. We didn't even talk about the Secretary of State, the call to the Secretary of
Oh
State.
shit!
This is some of the most illegal shit I've ever seen in my life.
It's
We almost left without talking about that.
it's really like a fucking movie. Like it just when you think it can't get no worse, like this fucking Cheeto ass motherfucker. Let me bring it back up before I can't use it no more because he's about to be out of this Cheeto ass motherfucker. Um, had his phone call with the Secretary of State of Georgia recorded by Georgia officials, and this whole conversation he's leaning on Georgia officials to find the votes.
Find the votes. Find them.
Find the votes.
And he had the exact number, 11,780.
The exact number.
That's insane.
And it's like and it's playing out in front of our faces. It's not even behind the scenes. It's like right in front of our faces. This fucking
It's illegal is what it is.
it's
Mark Meadows needs to stop. Just because Mark Meadows didn't catch a federal charge for being on the line with Zelensky when Donald Trump was trying to shake him down, doesn't mean he can't catch a charge being on this phone call trying to shake down the Georgia Secretary of State. The interesting thing, I mean, we talked about it a little bit, attacking Republicans in Georgia. I mean, thank you for the help, but these are your people. Brian Kemp is only governor because of the racist gerrymandering and voter suppression that he did when he was Secretary of State before he became governor.
yeah.
The idea that like, oh, these elections were stolen. You're right. They were stolen. They're stolen from black people who aren't allowed to vote in Georgia.
Exactly.
The fact that you lost doesn't mean that the election was stolen or that it was fraud. You just can't believe that many people would come out and vote against you because you don't believe in black people voting at all. So the fact that Brian Kemp and this other guy, I forget his name off the top of my head, something with an S. The fact that they would go out and defend the integrity of voting in Georgia is ridiculous. It is complete horseshit. But they haven't. I mean, they've spent all this time and energy trying to reform the system. They kind of have to take ownership of it, even if Trump's talking about how bad it is and how many illegal votes there are. There are no illegal votes. He just thinks an illegal vote is a vote by an African American person.
Yeah, that's what he's projecting.
He had. I mean, there's a woman who's dead. She died in the Capitol building. She got shot.
Yes.
The Capitol building. Look, I was just in DC a few weeks ago. Okay, I went there for the inauguration, and then I went a few weeks ago. You can't get into the Capitol building under normal circumstances. You cannot just think about. You can't even get within 50 feet of the door under normal circumstances.
And they rushed.
Woman got shot in the chest and bled to death.
Yep.
And died in the Capitol building. And Donald Trump is tweeting, these are the things and events that happened, end quote.
2020 set up a standard to live by, and 2021 so far said, hold my beer.
Dr. Dre said, nothing. Dr. Dre's dead. He's locked up in my basement.
Yeah, fuck. But yeah, it's that whole phone call is insane. And of course, Trump's fucking fuming at that it got out, that the audio was leaked,
Yep.
and trying to come up with all types of fucking excuses of whatever.
They want to refer it to the Secret Service as a leak under the Espionage Act.
Yeah.
What is the Secret Service going to do?
Arrest Trump because he was like, that's bro, like this is real. This is actually happening. It's so weird. Like it's like a parody movie, bro. Like, but it's not. It's real life, and it's like,
well, he's either insane and doesn't know what he's doing, or he's intentionally directing and encouraging insurrection against the government. Either way, he's not qualified to be president. Either way, he should be locked up.
I honestly think it's probably a little bit of both.
It is a little bit of both.
It's a little bit of both. But we'll see how it all plays out, and we'll have more info for you guys next week. I know Eddie got to get going because he has some things he has to do.
Gotta wrap it up.
And I gotta get some things done at the office. Thoughts out to Rich. Hope everything is going great. He's probably watching the show like these motherfuckers.
Yeah, he's like, they're fucking it up.
They're fucking it all up. But I'd like to plead with the Donald Trump supporters. Actually, I don't really want to plead with you guys. I just want to know what the fuck is wrong with you guys. like in your head, like what makes you think that all the judges that have said there's been no evidence to support any of this voter fraud, and the evidence that has been presented has been people casting votes for Donald Trump. So, like, what is wrong with you guys? Like, really, like, what don't you understand? And are you like this with everything, or just with the Donald Trump shit?
Just with politics.
Yeah, because you worry me because you guys like your intelligence levels are like insane. Like, what type of delusional world are you living in that everything he's saying is true, even though all the evidence points to a whole nother lane? But
as I said, military grade propaganda works.
Yep, that's a story. That's a story that's still unfolding. So we'll get to it on another day. But thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys next week at 5 o'clock.
Stay tuned on the news because I guarantee you it's not over.
No, it's not over. So
we got a long way to go with this.
By time we might have a special edition by time this week ends before we even come back next week.
Yeah.
Tune into our other Villain Radio Network shows. We have Sunday dinner, Sunday night at 7 o'clock. Friday Night Live is still in hiatus. We will be back probably around February, sometime in February, with the new season. Don, Rich is sick. He's been out. Today was the first episode of season 2. He's been out a couple weeks. That's why it's taking a little longer than usual. We planned to take a week off before we came back with season 2, but he's been out. If he's not back next week, maybe I'll have some more information.
Yep.
To update you guys about Rich. But thoughts and prayers. Hopefully he's feeling better on the up and up.
Yep.
We will see you guys next week. Like I said, Sunday dinner, Sunday night at 7:00, featuring me, Rome, Indian Trail. Until then, we'll see you guys later.
Stay safe.